Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahmavittaram. Okay, wonderful. So let's start. We'll read what we did 2 weeks back. We'll read verse number 23 together. Kastvam koham kuta ayatah Kame janani kome tatah iti paribhavaya sarvamasaram vishvam tyaktva swapna vicharam bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudhamate. So last time we met, we talked about verse 23. And the tagline for verse 23 is, life is but a dream. Life is but a dream. What does this verse ask us? Kaha tvam, who are you? Kaha aham, who am I? Kuta ayata, from where did you come? Kame janani, who is your mother? Ko me tata, who is your father? Iti paribhavaya sarvam asara. Having thought about this, inquire into this, that it's all asara, it's all essenceless. And tyaktva, having dropped it, dropped what? Dropped the attachment to this vishwa, to this world, because it's essenceless and it's also a dream. So who are you? Who am I? From where did I come? Who's my mother? Who's my father? Thus inquire, leaving aside the entire world of experience, essenceless in a mere dreamland, born out of imagination. So let's look at this for a little bit. We'll just review a little bit and then we'll move on today. What is this verse telling us to do? So we learn in Vedanta that our true identity is something that's beyond the body, the mind, the intellect, the ego. We learn that in Vedanta. And if we really think about it, we see ourselves to be the body. We see ourselves to be the body, but actually we never had an experience, I am the body. What do you mean? To say I am the body, I and the body have to be in the same locus, in the same place, right? So if we say this is a bottle, right? This is a bottle. So this and the bottle, they're both the subject, right? They're both on the same plane. Now, I and the body, they're not in the same plane. I is the subject, the body is the object. So clearly it's separate. We experience the body, we're aware of the body, but we're not at the body. We're not the body. What we're doing is we're mixing the subject and the object and we're putting them in one locus. And this is called illusion. This is called illusion because I experience the body, so I cannot be that body. So I've never had the actual experience, I am the body. I've never had that experience because I experience the body. I cannot be the body. So in our direct experience itself, it reveals this truth to us. We don't really need to go anywhere else. The same with the mind. We say, I am the mind. Again, we're putting I and the mind in the same locus. But it cannot be in the same locus because I experience the mind. I am the subject. The mind is the object. I experience the mind. I know the mind. I am aware of the mind. So I cannot be that mind. There's clearly some distinction there. But I'm mixing up the subject and the object and I'm putting them in one locus. And that again is called illusion. That's also called delusion. Brahma is called delusion. So I am not the body, and clearly I am not the mind, intellect, and even the ego. I'm aware of my individuality, my personality. I am aware of it. And therefore, I cannot be that. And so it is asking, Kaha Tvam, who are you? And Kaha Aham, who am I? We are beyond what we think we are. We are something deeper than what we think we are. We are that pure awareness and consciousness. And when it is saying, who is your mother? Who is your father? What is it saying in this verse, in verse 23? Who is your father? Who is your mother? It's not, putting them down in any way, but it's making us question, who is our origin? What's our origin? All of our relationships are based on this body. Being a mother or a father, a daughter, son, husband, wife, sister, brother, everything is based on this body. So here he's saying, who are all of your relationships? What is really that relationship based on? It's based on this body. But the minute I go to sleep, there are no more relationships. So he says, Kame Janani, Kome Tata. And he says, keep thinking about this again and again. And we saw last time that this waking state is nothing but a mere dream. This waking state is nothing but a mere dream. And why does he say that? Because we've seen also before that this waking state is experienced. I experience this waking state, and then I experience dream state, and I experience deep sleep state. So that which is experienced is different from the experiencer. So because it is experienced, it is not absolutely real. Waking state is experienced in the same way the dream state is also experienced. So both of them are experienced. Therefore, the waking is like dream only. It's also experienced. And not only that, the waking world or waking mind, once we go to dream, it's gone. And while we are in dream, once we go to deep sleep, that dream is gone. So both states we can see are temporary. They negate each other. From waking, when I go to dream, I leave all of my waking experiences, all of my waking people, all of my waking world, everything, and I go to dream, all gone. And when I'm in dream, when I'm coming out of it, I leave all my dreaming people, all my dreaming places, all my dreaming experience, and I go to deep sleep. They're all gone. So when we go from one state to another, that experience is completely gone. Those people, those places is completely gone. So because waking is like this, dream is like this, he says, don't get too caught up in life. It's only a big, long dream. It's a dream happening in consciousness. In the waking state and the dream state, a slight difference may be there. What is a slight difference? In the dream state, I am projecting this world with my individual mind. My individual mind is projecting this entire world based on my vasanas. But in the waking state, the total mind is projecting the world based on total vasanas. Total mind, or what we call God or Hiranyagarbha, is projecting it based on total vasanas. But where does the individual mind lie? Where does the total mind lie? Both lie in consciousness. And that consciousness, you are. That consciousness, I am. So he says, don't get too attached to this waking world. It's just a dream. It's just a dream after all. We pant and we sweat and we run after all of the things in this world like it's going to be the end of the world. Like things are going to go, everything's going to go crazy if we don't get what we want. But it's just a dream. It's just another dream. And so he says, Vishvam tyaktva swapna vicharam. Think about it again and again. When we went over this verse last class, we went thoroughly into many, many more reasons. While waking state is just like the dream state. So if you want to re-listen to that class, you can do that and just think about it a little deeper. Today now, we're going to move on to verse number 24. Okay? So I'll read verse number 24. Tvai mai chanya traiko Vishnu.
Sorry. Tvai mai chanya traiko Vishnu.
Vyartham kopyasi maya sahishnu.
Vyartham kupyasi maya sahishnu.
Tava samachitta sarvatra tvam.
Bhava samachitta sarvatra tvam.
Bhava samachitta sarvatra tvam.
Bhava samachitta sarvatra tvam.
Vanchasya chiradyadi vishnutvam.
Vacha Siridhyadi Vishnu Tvam. Sorry.
It's okay. I will say it again. Just listen carefully. Vanchasya chirad
Vancha Satira
yadi vishnutvam.
Yadi Vishnu Tvam.
Okay, now I'll chant the whole thing. I'll chant it. So, Tvai mai chanya traiko Vishnu vyartham kopyasi maya sahishnu bhava samachitta sarvatra tvam vanchasya chiradyadi vishnutvam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. So what does this verse mean? Tvai in you, mai in me, cha, anyatra, and in all other places too, ekaha Vishnuhu. There's one all-pervading reality. Vishnu here doesn't mean Vishnu Bhagwan, it means all-pervading. Vyartham kupyasi mai asahishnuhu. Vyartham, unnecessarily, kupyasi, you are getting angry, mai, with me. The teacher is telling the student, unnecessarily, you're getting angry with me. Asahishnuhu, and you're being impatient. Bhava samachitta says, be equipoise, be equal-minded. Sarvatra, all places, be equipoise everywhere. Tvam vanchasi yadi, if you want achirat, very soon, Vishnutvam, the Vishnu status, means if you want to realize the self. Seek Govinda, seek Govinda. In you, in me, and in all other places too, there is but one all-pervading reality, Vishnu. Being impatient, you are unnecessarily getting angry with. If you want to attain soon the Vishnu status, be equal-minded in all circumstances. So first, let's look at the caption for this verse is same difference, same difference. So in you, in me, and in everywhere, there's that same all-pervading reality. Of course, we all know that our essence is that pure awareness and consciousness. So what do we do with it? It depends on how we see this world. If we take an artist, how does the artist see the world? The artist will see the world in terms of color, in terms of form, in terms of paintings, and everything he or she sees will be a picture. They will need to picturize and visualize everything that they see because they're an artist. A musician would see the world in terms of sound. So every sound they hear, they could tell what note that is, what raga that is, or from what scale that's coming from. Because they're musicians, so they'll hear music in everything, even in the cooing of the birds. How would a goldsmith see something? Goldsmith is always going to just see gold. Wherever they go, oh, this gold, what's this made out? How many carats of gold are here? What form of gold is this? How much does this weigh? They're just going to see gold in everything. So depending on who we are, we see the world. So when we're focused on our body so incredibly much, we'll see everybody as a body. We'll see everybody as short, fat, tall, thin, dark. We'll take a look at the gender. We'll emphasize on the culture, on the religion, on the background of the person, and we'll kind of just see the person for their body. And if we're more of an emotional nature, then we would see people as loving or disturbing or caring or really angry. We would see the emotions and read into the emotions of a person. We wouldn't really pay attention to what they're wearing. And if we're more of an intellectual personality, we would judge people by what they know. Oh, this person knows a lot. This person has studied a lot. This person has researched all of this. But as we get deeper into Vedanta, when we look at someone, we look at them as us. And we start from there. And that's why we say Hari Om or Namaste. If you remember, Hari Om means that. Hari means form. Om means God. So I see God in your form. So the first meeting point with everybody is there's God there. The same God in you is the same God in me, and we are one. And we start from there. There's only one all-pervading truth. And then if there are differences, then we think that's such a beautiful thing. That's such a beautiful thing. And we use our differences to get rooted in the same vision. So for example, what's the practical application of this? Practical application is if we're part of a company, there's one vision, right? The company will have one motto or one statement, mission statement, and that's what keeps them grounded. But there's so many different personalities there, and they would harness, or a good company would harness the strengths of all of these personalities to come to that vision. The same way in the family, there should be one vision, right? To help everybody evolve, to help everybody develop and evolve, and so that the best of them, best version of themselves comes out. And so in that process of evolution, everybody has their own way to evolve. And that's really beautiful. Some children will do it differently. All children, if you have two kids, sometimes you're surprised at how different they can be from each other. It's like night and day. But they're all in that path of evolution. They're just doing it differently. And that's okay. There's a beauty to it. So in this verse, it's telling us to pay attention to what's really in essence one between us, but at the same time celebrate whatever's different. It's okay. We will not be equal in terms of gender, in terms of culture and race and religion. We will not be the same there. We won't be. And that's perfectly okay, because there's a beauty in the differences. But at the core, we are one. We are one. There's no difference. And so the student feels like, gosh, you've said this so many times, teacher. You've told me this so many times. Why are you telling me again? And the teacher says, Vyartam kupyasi, unnecessarily you're getting mad at me. Mai asahishnu, and you're being impatient. And the student is probably thinking, I've heard, I am Brahman. Why are you telling me again? And the teacher says, because you didn't get it yet. You didn't get it yet. Sometimes we wonder why there's so many Upanishads. There are so many texts that we study. If they're saying the same message, why are we studying them? It's because they're saying it in so many different ways. And we don't know what way is going to hit us when. And so it keeps saying it. And at some point in time, it will make such a deep impression that it will stay with us. Right now, it's as if it's flimsy. It comes and then it goes. It comes and then it goes. Comes and then it goes. But here the teacher says, I'm going to keep telling you until it stays in you, until it sinks into you. So don't be impatient. Be patient with me, the teacher saying to a student. Be patient with me, but also be patient with yourself. Because to really understand this knowledge, to really get rooted in it, it takes time. It's not something that happens right away. It's a process. Growth is always a process. When a plant grows, it's a process. And if we keep hovering over it and staying and saying, when is it going to grow? When is it going to grow? It's going to take longer. But if we just let it do what it has to do, it will bloom beautifully. Like children. If we hover over them and say, when are you going to do this? And when are you going to do that? The more they'll get annoyed. But if we just let them do what they have to do, then they grow beautifully. So then he says here, if you want to come to this path, to come to terms with yourself, and if you really, really want to gain this knowledge and stay rooted in this, I suggest to you one thing. And what is that one thing? Bhava samachitta. Be equal-minded. Be equipoised. I want you to be equipoised everywhere. What does this mean? Be equipoised. Be equal-minded. See, life is a pull of duality. There's always going to be joy and sorrow. There's going to be pleasure. There's going to be pain, heat, cold. There's going to be noise. There's going to be silence. It's a dual pull. Equanimity means staying centered amidst this dual pull of the world. Even if the world seems to shake and go through so many things, or the people around us seem to shake and go through so many things, it means just staying steady and keeping our mind at ease and at peace. Gurudev says very beautifully, if we have two choices in every situation, and the choices are to identify or not to identify, right? When we identify with our body, mind, and intellect, we suffer. And when we don't identify, we just watch. We're just the witness. If we choose to identify, if we choose to jump into this ocean of samsara, there's going to be waves. We can't have an ocean without waves. So if we choose to jump into this ocean of identification, there's going to be waves, ups and downs, and they're never going to stop. There's no ocean without waves. But what we have to learn is how to swim with those waves, how to take in those waves as we need to. If it's a really, really, really big wave, then maybe we have to duck under. And if it's a small one, then maybe we can just jump. So how do we develop this equipoise, this equanimity? So here are some methods. Of course, the first method is to understand and to recognize that this is a dream. And that's the from the highest standpoint I'm speaking. We'll go from the highest standpoint and then we'll come to the worldly standpoints. But we'll start from the highest standpoint because we just saw this in the previous verse. Then understand that this world is a dream and everything will happen as it needs to happen. Everything will go on as it needs to go on, and everything is happening in me. Everything is happening in me. So I'm just the witness of this event. I'm the witness of this world. I'm the witness of this movement. So therefore, if everything's moving and shaking and so many things are happening, nothing's happening to me. Everything might be moving around me, in me, but nothing's happening to me. So Lord Sri Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita very beautifully in chapter 9. He says, they are in me, but I am not in them. They are in me, but I am not in them. They may be, the whole world may be resting on that pure awareness, but I am unaffected by whatever is going on. I am untouched by it. And this is the highest standpoint to be in, to develop equanimity. I am untouched by it. Now, and this is the path of knowledge, what we call jnana. Now, if the person, if somebody says, that's too much for me, I cannot come to that level yet. Maybe it'll take me some time, but I cannot come to that level yet. Then the second path is the path of bhakti. The path of bhakti is what? I surrender everything to God. Let thy will be done. So whatever it is, if I'm supposed to go through pain, okay. If I'm supposed to go through disturbance, okay. If I'm supposed to go through joy, okay. Let God decide. Let God's will be done. Let God take care. Because God knows best. I mean, who am I to say that I know how to create the world or design my life? I mean, God is a master artist, master painter. If God created this whole world, don't you think he would know how to unroll and unravel our lives? Why are we so caught up in wanting to design and make our own lives? Why don't we just surrender to God? And so that's the bhakta's viewpoint. Bhakta, the devotee's viewpoint, is thy will be done. I just surrender everything to you and you decide how you want my life to be. I will. Now, this doesn't mean that the devotee doesn't do anything. No, the devotee does their best. But whatever happens, just completely lets go and lets God take over. And in this way, the bhakta lives with equipoise because they accept and take everything as prasad. Now here, there's just, I'll give you just a little hint, right? See, in life, God's will win anyway. God's will win anyway, right? If it's your will and God's will, God's gonna win. That's just the way it is. So there's no point in fighting it. Surrendering to God's will is not an option. It's actually, there's no other way. It's just if we surrender in the beginning or if we surrender towards the end. That's the only option. Or if we surrender in the middle. And the more we fight it, the more we're going to be miserable. God's will win. It will win. So it's just a matter of how soon can I accept that? And so the devotee of God, bhakta, has this beautiful, beautiful spirit of surrender. Whereas the jnani has a beautiful spirit of detachment. The bhakta has a beautiful spirit of surrender. What if I'm not the knowledge type, nor am I the devotee type? Tell me something practical as to how I can cultivate equanimity here and now. Okay, if this doesn't work, then the path of karma. What is the path of karma? Path of karma says that everything happens as a result of our karma. Whatever happens is a result of our karma from this life or previous lives. So whatever's happening to me is because I deserve it. I have done something, I have thought of something, and I am just reaping that result. And might come through this person or through that person, but it is my karma. And so a person who's on the path of karma has a lot of sense of peace with that it's just the results of my actions. And therefore, I accept. And this will give one a lot of peace and equanimity. They won't get bogged down or moved here and there. If someone has to pass away at a certain time, that's their karma. It's a very, very hard thing, when that actually happens, but that means their karma for that particular body is over, and now they have to move on. So the third way is to understand that it's part of my karma. It's part of the total karma. And then, but some people might also find this difficult, because how can someone have to go through so much pain? What karma could they have done? Well, the answer is we don't know. We don't know what their past lives are. We don't know what could have happened previously. But all we know is that everything is happening as it should be. And we have faith in that. Now, somebody might say, but this also isn't working for me. Can you give me something? How do I stay equanimous in a situation? And a situation which is, fluctuating. It's going up and down. So many things are happening. How do I stay equanimous? The fourth way is to take everything as growth. So don't see something as good or bad. Just take it as growth. Okay, this happened, it's good. This happened, it's bad. And that's how we normally live life. We say, this is good, this is bad. This shouldn't have happened, this should have happened. Instead of labeling things again and again and again, and saying this is good, this is not good, etc., just see it as growth. Every experience is a chance to grow towards the higher. Every experience is a chance to evolve deeper. And if we see it as that, we will get a lot of peace. What if that still doesn't work? Okay, then the fifth method is see and understand that everything is impermanent. Whatever is happening now may be really hard to endure, but it will go. And whatever is happening now could be really nice and just so exciting, it will go. So if we keep in our mind that everything is really impermanent, everything is temporary, and things will come and they'll go, we will be more open to them coming and going. We won't try to hold them unnecessarily longer than they have to be there. And we won't have to push them away right before they're supposed to leave, because we have this understanding that everything will come when it has to come, and everything will go when it has to go. And it's okay. And the final one is that when we look at life, sometimes what might appear as really, really bad in the long run can be something good. So for example, if we're in a company and somebody gets fired who's very close to us, it might appear that it's really, really sad and really bad. But maybe a few months down the line, we realize that it actually benefited the company because they got, somebody who's better suited in the job. And then maybe our friend got a better job somewhere else. So something that looks really, really, really bad in the beginning can actually be good. So if we keep these things in mind, then we can stay centered in the moment. That's called samatvam. Samatvam. Or in the Bhagavad Gita, samatvam yoga uchyate. Yoga means being equanimous. But here, the word is samachittaha, being equanimous. And he said, if you stay equanimous, if you're able to develop this quality, what happens? He said, if you desire, you will attain godhood, or you will realize God soon. Why? Because this equanimity of mind puts our mind at a very sattvic level, peaceful level. When our mind is in a sattvic level, only that mind can really comprehend the depth of this knowledge. Only that mind can make the best decisions. Only that mind can act in the best way possible. So he says, if you want this, be equanimous. Don't get pulled by your likes and dislikes. Don't get torn by here and there and pulled apart by all the joys and sorrows of life. Don't get pulled by all of that. Stay centered, stay even-minded, and let your mind be at calm and peace. And with that mind, seek deeper. And so he says, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Murmate. So now the student says, okay, I will do that. I will keep my mind equanimous, but I have something to ask you, O teacher. What about all my relationships? That's a tough one. How do I deal with all of my relationships? Maybe I can stay centered and everything, but the minute this person comes, oh my goodness, I'm all shriveled. So how do I deal with my relationships? So then brings out this very beautiful verse now, verse number 25. Okay, so let us read 25. Shatro mitre putre bandhau.
Shatru mitre putre bandhau.
Kuru yatnam vigraha sandhau.
Ma kuru yatnam vigraha santo.
Sarvasminnapi pashyatmanam.
Sarvasminnapi pasyatmanam.
Sarvatrotsrija bhedajnanam.
Sarvatra sujya veda jnanam.
Shatru mitre putre bandhav ma kuru yatnam vigraha sandhav sarvasminnapi pashyatmanam sarvatrotsrija bhedajnanam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Buddhamate. Here it says, Shatro. Shatro means against an enemy. Mitre, against a friend. Putre, against a son, daughter. Bandho, against a relative. Ma kuru yatnam, never strive. Vigraha sandho, for breaking or making these relationships. Sarvasmin api, everywhere. Pashya atmanam, sarvatra. Everywhere, just see that self. Utsrija bheda ajnana, and lift away the sense of difference. Seek Govinda, seek Govinda. Strive not, waste not your energy to fight against or to make friends with your enemy, friend, son, daughter, or relative. Seeking the self everywhere, lift the sense of difference born of ignorance. So what is this telling us? So the caption for this verse is, mind is your best friend and mind is your best enemy. So the first point of this verse is that sometimes we waste so much time in useless relationships. So now, first, let's think about what a useful relationship is, then we can come to what a useless relationship is. A useful relationship is a relationship with someone whom we can evolve with, somebody who is inspired by us, or who we're inspired by, or both of us are inspiring each other, someone whom we can see that we can grow and we can evolve with. Evolve meaning spiritually, holistically. That's a very useful relationship. Someone who leads us to the path of righteousness takes us away from the path of unrighteousness and someone who really accepts us for what and who we are. This is a real, useful relationship. But what happens in life is we see that many of us have really useless relationships. We have these very superficial relationships of just like, hi, how are you? And let's meet here and let's meet there. And there is no depth in that relationship. Sometimes we don't even understand why we're in that friendship or why we're in that relationship. We don't even get it. Oh, if we really count in our lives, we might have so many friends on Facebook or so many followers on Instagram or whatever. But in the fingers of our hands, we can count really how many people we consider our real friends. So what it's saying here is don't waste time in all of these superficial relationships that don't mean anything, because life is short and time is of the essence. And if I'm just going to waste time in this, then where is my time to seek? So Shatru, Mitre, Putre, Bando, with all these relatives and friends and everything like that. And not only do we waste time in such superficial topics or conversations that don't go anywhere, but sometimes we get so caught up in people pleasing. We feel like we have to please everybody. We feel like we have to appear good or be liked by everybody. But why? What is the reason for that? If we try to please someone our whole lives, their opinions will keep changing. So do we have to keep changing according to their happiness? At one point, they might want us to be this way, and another point, they want us to be another way. And if we keep jumping based on their moods of their minds, our life's going to be miserable. If we want to please anyone, our scriptures say, please God. Don't please anybody else, because we'll keep jumping from one place to another. Also, when we try to please people so much, they're going to talk anyway. No matter what we do, people will say something. No matter what we do, they'll talk. Even our gods are not freed from them. People will talk against Sri Rama. People will talk against Sita Devi. People will talk against Krishna. Oh, he stole so much butter. Right? So even our gods are subject to this kind of talk. So people are going to talk anyway. So if I'm so focused on making friends and not making enemies or staying away from my enemies, all of my attention, my focus will just go in that. And I'll also lose track. Who is my friend? Who's my enemy? What if I smile by mistake at my enemy? Oh no, what am I going to do? Right? And then if we have such enemy or such enmity with anybody, it's really sad, but that's what we'll keep thinking about. They'll be sleeping peacefully, but we'll be losing sleep over them. So our minds will just get caught up in this web of useless relationships and thinking, oh, this person or that person and this one and that one, and should I go to this party and that party, and why didn't they invite me, and they should have invited me. He says, don't even make an effort to do any of it. Forget about it. But then the question is, Adi Shankaracharya ji, I'm human after all. I'm a social person. I would like a good group of friends. So his advice here is work on your mind. Work on your mind, because your mind is your best friend and your mind is your worst enemy. Truly, the mind is that which is with us all the time. And when that mind is so peaceful, then so many people will want to come and be with you. So many people will come automatically. You don't even have to call them. They're going to want to hang out with you because your mind, your presence is so incredibly peaceful. So make your mind your friend. Forget about focusing on everybody else. Focus on making a friend of your mind. Because self-talk, self-thought is so important. On the outside, we could look like something, but on the inside, we could be something else. there's this one story of a monk, and there was a prostitute. Now, this monk every morning would come out of his monastery and he would sit and meditate. And this prostitute would go on her way back. She would walk past the monastery and go back to her house. Now, every time the monk saw the prostitute, he was he had a lot of negative thoughts, like, how can she do this, or what kind of life is she living, or what's going on in her mind, like this kind of thoughts. But every time the prostitute passed the monastery, she felt like, wow, there's actually a peaceful life, there's actually a calm life, and I strive for that, and I hope that I can get out of this. And this monk gives me hope that maybe someday I too can be in that position. So now just think, the monk is there sitting to meditate, but what's in his mind? All these negative tendencies are in his mind. The prostitute's there, but she's walking home, but what's in her mind? Positive tendencies. So it's not so much sometimes where we are. Of course, the outer environment, it does affect, it is true. But what I'm saying at a deeper level, the mind plays such an important role. So it's all of this self-thinking and self-thoughts. We are with our minds 24/7. We're lucky when we sleep, the mind is dissolved, or what we call it, it goes into the self. But when we're awake, we are with our mind 24/7. So therefore, make the mind that friend. Forget everybody else. And when we are able to deal with that mind, what happens is automatically everybody else comes. So no need to strive for all of those relationships. Strive with the relationship with your mind. Strive for that and let that come. Let that happen. Invest in that. Invest in that self-development. And he says here, now at the highest level, highest level. So we have from level 1, don't invest in useless, petty relationships. Level 2, invest in your mind, make your mind your best friend. And level 3, at the highest standpoint, who is a friend and who is an enemy anyway? Everyone is just that one self. We are seeking relationships, we're seeking social gathering, we're seeking other people because we have forgotten that they, in essence, are ourselves. We've forgotten that we're already complete. We've forgotten that we're already whole. Will we ever want ourselves? No, we won't. But we've forgotten that fact. And so for that purpose, we seek them. So Shatro Mitre Putre Bandho Ma Kuriyatnam Vigrasata. Don't put so much effort into this breaking and making relationships, Once it's broken, the other time it's mended, another time it's broken, another time it's mended. Work on one's own self-development. And Sarvasmin Pashya Atmanam. See that self everywhere. And Sarva Utsrija Bheda Jnana. Lift again that sense of difference. What does it mean, lift the sense of difference? What it means is stop focusing on the differences. Someone once asked a wise person and an ignorant person, they see the same things, they do the same things, they go to the same places. What's the difference? The difference is their focus. When the wise person perceives the world, their focus is that pure awareness consciousness, and the names and forms they recede to the back. When we perceive the world, the names and forms come in front, and that pure awareness consciousness substratum that recedes to the back, we even forget it. So when it says here, Utsrija Bheda Ajnanam, give up the sense of difference, it means let it recede to the back, bring to the forefront that sense of oneness, and operate from that sense of oneness. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Guruvate. So this is what he says. I'll stop here now just to see if anyone has any questions or any thoughts.